The horror stories you hear it's more than just someone not being able to do your hair. It's people refusing to pronounce your name correctly. You know, it's people touching this texture, you know, with a certain level of trepidation and disgust, you know. So it's a deeper issue.
In many instances, it's up to the production to say we do have a couple of African American actors that we want to make sure their hair is taken care of. I can't determine what's going to happen, but if you have that, it's up to the production.
As a black woman, I think sometimes it just comes from people making decisions, not understanding the differences. Most of the people that I've worked with, especially in the past like 8 years, and they have been really conscious. I've also done a lot of movies that have been predominantly black, so I have producers who understand, co-stars who understand. I did work on a movie producers didn't understand, and then we showed up at work with some hair that was unable to be managed, and they flew somebody in.
Getting people of color into the union has been challenging. I have always expressed a very clear desire to have a person of color, a black hair and makeup person, because it is a different sensibility.
What you're seeing, when we're having these conversations about a hairstylist in the unions, you're required a certain amount of hours. You're expected to make those hours like with minimum pay. And then, for example, in Los Angeles, it's like $6,000. It's $6,000. So there are, rules and systems in place, and it's also very who you know. So you can imagine that it ends up being this like cycle.
There are a lot of artists who do have proficiency with a lot of things, but if they continue to study and to train, then it can be no big deal. But a lot of times you do have to show up ready.
I know in my experience, I've gone, I've worked in London, I've worked all over the world, and sometimes you don't know if you're going to have somebody who's familiar with black hair. So you'll have to choose a style that will protect your own hair and not ruin it.
I always say this, it could take 5 years to grow your hair, and it could take one flat iron to break it all off. One time. How dare me, as a stylist, not do someone because I haven't learned how to work with their hair. It's not okay.
When you have someone look at you on television, you want to make sure that you are represented in the correct way. And if you look orange and if your hair's all over the place, you're gonna be talked about. It's gonna be like, oh, who did her hair? Some people may say, well, it's vain and da-da-da-da-da, it's hair. No, it's not. It's about representation.
The generation right before us was very they couldn't rock the boat. Right. And I can't fault them for that. They could not rock the boat. You would just be blacklisted. You would be cast aside as difficult, as unreasonable, all the things that people love to project onto black women. And, with our generation, thankfully, since there are more of us, there are more of us who can say no more, and demand what we need, because it's just not fair. It's not fair to be made to feel less when you're trying to do your job.